Hey guys, it's Random Ant here of Runic TCG, and I have Duck and Sam of Team Ellipsis, who had an outstanding performance at the Computer and Gaming Universe New Jersey 1K. So tell us guys, what'd you place and what did you play?
So, I'm Duck, and I got top 4 at the 1K.
And I'm Sam, I made top 8, and we played the same Vegeta and Babidi deck.
Alright, so what does this leader do?
Alright, so it's a new leader from set 11. It has Overlord, so when you have a servant on your board, you can put it on the bottom of your deck and draw a card. When it attacks, you take a life, draw a card, and it gains 5k. And double strike. So it's just really good at pressuring unisons, it's very aggressive, really good all around.
Saiyan Kaba built into a leader.
Yeah, very good. When you're at 5 life, you can awaken, which is cool. You don't there's no drawback to it, you're just able to awaken at 5 and untap 2. Then on the back, it still has Overlord, so you can put servants on the back, on the bottom of your deck again. You can take a life and draw a card to gain 5k and double strike without attacking on this side, so that's also cool and different from the front. And probably its best effect, you can pay 1 to reveal the bottom card of your deck, and if it's a Vegeta with servant and a cost of 3 or less, you can simply play it in active mode.
That's amazing considering how broken that Vegeta is.
Yeah. So, let's get into the deck.
Yeah. So, the first thing that we want to talk about is the Boo Chain. The first piece of it is, the start of it is the extra card, Majin Quickening. So, this card says, whenever you take a life, you add the top card of your deck and put it under it. And then eventually activate main. When you have 4 cards under it, or 4 or more cards under it, you send everything to the drop, including the field spell, and then you play a 3-drop Boo from your deck or your drop. This Babidi, what he does is when you play him, you can activate one from the deck. You want to have more Babidis than you do field spells, but you don't want to go lower than 3 because there's a chance that you'll just have it in life or your starting hand.
Absolutely, and the Babidis are combo power, and you're essentially playing 7 copies of that Quickening.
Yes. There's a very, very low chance that you don't see a game 1. Sometimes you don't, but it just happens. The next part is the 3-drop Boos that you can play off the Quickening activation. We're only playing 2 of each, so 4 targets in total. This one has Barrier, and it removes a counter. This one has Deflect, and it pops a 4-drop. The important thing is you have the option of choosing one with Deflect if they do decide to counterplay you. Because counterplays are prevalent; they're everywhere. Every deck has one in this meta. And if they don't decide to counterplay you on the first window, then you can play this one. It's Barrier. It's safer against a lot of things, and sometimes it removes a counter from your unison.
Especially in that green mirror match as well, right?
Yeah, green was really prevalent in this format, and so this one was really important. The versatility of having 2 options, and one would have Deflect and one having Barrier, is probably the best thing about this engine. And it lets you switch between being more aggressive and more of a tempo strategy, which is probably the biggest strength of this deck.
So, next part of the Boo Chain, the ball. So this is the 3-star ball, and what you can do is you put the ball under a 3-drop Boo, and then it looks for a 5-drop Majin Buu Zeno 5-drop from your deck or your hand. So it doesn't look at the drop this time, but here is the 5-drop. So you put it under this and you play this on top of it. And what this 5-drop Buu does is when you play it, you remove a counter from your own unison, which can be a plus, and in exchange, you remove a counter from your opponent. They choose a card in their hand and one of the battle cards and KO it. That's a lot of things.
Absolutely, a lot of value on that, especially on that ball too. Since it's an extra card, it still can bump something up by 5k during activate battle, correct?
Right. Yes, I forgot about that. So activate main, or activate battle, you can give one of your cards 5k. So it's never a dead card. Like even if you if you have extra ones in the hand or you happen to draw it off your super combo during the last swing, it's still combo power.
Just adds to that consistency.
More options is good. And then let's say you have this 5-drop out. You usually don't attack with it unless you have to because you have this guy. We play 4 of him because there's no really easy way to search it out. This 7-drop says it's a 25k with dual attack and double strike. So it's swinging for a total of 4 damage. It has an auto though. When it's removed by a skill, you play a 3-drop from your drop and you put it in play, and you take a ball, the 3-star ball, back into your hand.
So you can essentially do the whole chain all over again, and I got to deal with this guy
Yeah.
again if you have another in hand.
Yeah. The only 2 requirements are you need another 5-drop either in your hand or deck, and you need another one of this in your hand so you can play it. But a lot of the times, you just get extra combo power, right? You get 5 or 10k combo power back if they decide to kill this.
Yeah, it's nuts, man. How many times did this win to the game?
Sometimes it does, like if they have 2 life, obviously it's very good at pressuring for game. A lot of the time, I like to attack with it for their 3rd and 4th life because I have really strong targets for the last 2.
Gotcha.
For the last 2 life.
This being 1 mana also made it so that a lot of the time I could even play it on turn 2. So even if it wasn't outright winning the game, it was just a really insane amount of pressure that was really hard to address because of that auto. You have enough mana on 2 where if you're able to awaken, most of the time you are able to play this card, and then they really can't address it. If they get rid of it, you'll simply do it again on the next turn. So there are a lot of games where it didn't outright win, where it was certainly the winning play. It's really strong.
But it led to the winning strategy because
sure.
it was able to maximize that value with the deck.
For sure. So the next card we played is the Servant Vegeta. This is a 3-mana card with Servant and Double Strike. So Servant makes it gain 10k, so it's a 30k Double Strike. And if your opponent activates a counter while it's on the board, once per turn, it restands. This is really strong because it is not only a 30k Double Strike, you can also play from the bottom of your deck with your leader, and it's a disincentive for your opponent to negate. So you might have another Double Strike string with the Majin Buu, and this will be rested. You can attack here, and if they decide to negate, not only do you get the second attack here, but you also now have another attack on your Vegeta.
That's 4 double strike attacks that
Right.
turn, which is crazy.
This is a card that's strong for 3 mana. For 1 mana, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to get to the bottom of the deck, even if you don't play it by hard casting it.
Yeah, and then there are times when it has, after its use has been exhausted, you can then just draw a card off it because you activate Overlord on the Servant.
Now, you guys had mentioned tempo earlier. There's something I saw in a lot of Ducks games on stream where if he was under Dormant, he would summon this from the bottom, Overlord twice, and that was just nuts. He drew 2 cards right there and had the play set up for next turn.
Yeah, it does come up sometimes. Definitely if they played a turn ender like a Dormant Potential, and I already used my 2 attacks, sometimes what I would do is I just play from the bottom and Overlord it right under, and then I would just draw a card, extra card. Why not?
It's also strong against Dormant simply because it restands immediately. So if against Dormant, it could be both of your attacks. Dormant doesn't negate the attack. So if this 30k will go through, it will restand, and you have another 30k double strike swing. So these are things that they can't ignore, even if they use a Dormant.
Yep.
The next cards we played are our Unisons. So we played 4 Demigra and 3 Dark Broly. These have very different purposes in our deck. Demigra is really useful because sometimes you want to be really aggressive on turn 2. It also gives you access to Frieza counterplay and Dormant Potential. And sometimes is an out to random cards on your opponent's board, like a 9-drop Sin Shenron or an Invoker Vegeta. Dark Bully is really strong and very synergetic with our Buu chain. When you play the 5-drop Buu, it removes a marker from your Unison. So if you remove a marker from your Dark Bully Unison, they'll have to discard an extra card. This is a really big part of the tempo element of our deck, where, we have a couple 3-mana plays that we can make, including the Vegeta we just talked about. But if you play this on 3 and then go into your Buu chain, your opponent is going to discard a minimum of 3 cards on that turn. So it gives you plays besides being aggressive. Even if you don't win right there, your opponent has far less resources to beat you on the next turn. This also has ridiculous other effects. It has a +2, so it's almost never going to die to your opponent. And it makes your opponent KO one of their cards and discard one of their cards.
And it's 20k double strike. That's already a threat right there.
Right, and it's another double strike threat for the deck.
Yeah.
So it's really good all around.
Yeah, Unison's having a base power of 20, really hard to deal with because your opponent is likely swinging with 15k. They have to combo up to try to damage this.
So not only is he removing cards from the hand, but he's removing cards via combo to even deal with this guy.
No, there was never an opponent that I had that was able to kill this once I put it on the board.
Yeah. Once it's on the board, they're staying there. It's staying there.
Perfect.
We're starting to get into more generic green cards that are just good, so we included them obviously. So the Doria, this isn't supposed to be in the deck. It's actually supposed to be the promo Vegeta, but it's kind of early, and we didn't. There's not enough in circulation, so we just couldn't get it. The Doria is an okay alternative. Obviously, it draws 1 less card in our deck because it doesn't have Servant. But it fulfills the role of early aggression, and early ways of dealing with unisons because it's double strike.
Besides our leader, of course. Our leader is really good at dealing with unisons, but another 1 mana double strike is really important, and it allows you to kill on turn 2 sometimes instead of the regular turn 3 for this deck.
Yeah, because you're able to get them down to 4 on turn 1 if you're going second, or turn 2 going first.
Usually no, because we're usually activating our field spell on 1, but it makes our turn 2 significantly better, because you can go into this and the Boo Chain and even a Vegeta on the same turn. This is just a really good additional piece, and it's also a great extender for when you don't have the whole combo.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
Maybe in a few weeks when there's more promo Vegetas out, take this out, put those in.
Certainly every Vegeta you get should be one of the Dorias. We played 2 Cells Kamehameha. This is a generically good green card. It's a 15k combo for 1 mana, and there aren't a lot of 1 mana combos in this deck, so there is sometimes mana that you can spend on this. So it's 15k, and it takes a card out of your opponent's hand, which is very valuable. I played a game where I took a Baby Hatchiyak out of my opponent's hand.
Oof, rough.
And that just ended the game. It was really good for me. Yeah. We then played 2 Dormant Potential. This is also a really good card. We don't play any more in our main deck because we are an aggro deck, and so we really don't want to draw cards that we can't combo with or aren't part of our combo. But sometimes if you can't win, or if you're playing against another aggressive deck, which there were a lot of in this format, it's really important to have a card like this so that you're alive for the next turn.
Yeah, definitely need that safety crutch in there.
The next card we play is Bardock Awakening Power. So what tends to happen with our deck, especially once we activate Majin Quickening, is we have a lot of cards in our drop area. So we wanted to put in an overwhelm target, or an overwhelm card, so that we could utilize those cards in our drop. And we are somewhat of a combo deck because you do need to see the ball and the 7 drop, and you want to see the Vegeta sometimes, you want to see super combos. This just helps us find that missing piece. It also filters out whatever extra unisons and extra cards we have that we don't need at the moment, especially when we're pushing for game, because you want to have the most combo power in your hand when that happens.
Absolutely.
As long as you have Quickening Resolve, this is always able to be used on the turn where you play it, and it being 20k attacker is also very good. There were games where I held it if I had Quickening in my hand. It was really good for us. Yeah.
Okay.
Then we played 3 of the Counterplay Frieza. This card needs no introduction. It's probably the best counterplay in the game right
Absolutely.
now. It's immediately accessible with Demigra on turn 2, and with Dark Broly, and that access will never be taken away if you do have a Dark Broly. So it's really good. Then our super combo is the new Great Saiyaman super combo. Not only does this bottom deck a card and draw 2, it has a synergy with our Vegeta. We'll put the card on the bottom of our deck. It's over there. Okay. It puts the card on the bottom of our deck, so we could put this on the bottom and then spend 1 when we're on our back of our leader to play it from the bottom. So this is now a 1 mana 30k double strike that also disincentivizes your opponent from activating a negate. So it's really good, and it means that you don't have to pay 3 for this, and you can instead pay 3 for Dark Broly or some other combination of plates. Overall, this was really good. Definitely a better super combo than Paragus or any of the other available options.
Absolutely. Has amazing synergy with the deck.
And then the last part we played is the Great Ape SCR. It was close between this and the Cell SCR for us because you can easily summon Cell in this deck. But we ended up going with this one because a lot of the time, Cell SCR was sort of win more. Most of the games you can summon Cell SCR, you were going to win already. This card instead gave us another defensive option, which might have mattered. I didn't draw it very much, and neither did Duck. But it is very valuable to have that kill spell for an opponent's attack, especially because most opponent's leaders aren't going to be able to kill you.
Right. So, I agree with Sam. I never really resolved this card in any of my games, but sometimes honestly, a lot of the time it's just a 1 mana kill spell that you can activate during battle, which is obviously strong defensively, but also against decks that need to be where you have to get rid of a specific battle card like Sin Shenron or Invoker Vegeta. This comes into play because it ignores barrier, and you know we do have cards in the sideboard that also deal with those kinds of those threats, but having 1 in the main deck just felt good.
Yeah, offense and defense, man.
Yeah. So that's it for our main deck. We can get into the side now. So first, we knew that this was going to be a really aggressive event, so we sided quite a lot for other aggro decks. So we have the 3rd Dormant Potential, 2 Shocking Death Ball, and 2 Max Power Kamehameha. 4 is, again, a little redundant in our deck, so we only played 3. For our aggro matchups, this was definitely enough for me. I would usually be able to see one, which keeps me alive long enough to kill my opponent. Shocking Death Ball then is a sparking negate, so we can always activate it regardless of whether or not we have energy, which is really important because this deck spends its energy quite a lot in the early turns. And then we have Max Power Kamehameha, which is a card with dual purposes for us. It's a negate that we can recycle, so we have this for Reboot Gohan actually, so that we always have a hard negate, but it also has the added utility of outing the Sin Senran 9-drop, which Duck played against in top 8.
Nowhere else in the main deck or the side deck do we run a hard negate. Usually, we just try to out-combo our opponents. But there are situations where you have to have a negate, and this is for those times. Like Reboot Gohan. It's very hard to out-combo that deck, so we just want to, be able to negate, one of their lethal swings.
Absolutely. Got to see the negates when you need them.
Then we also recognize that sometimes we had to be more aggressive than our main deck, because we were expecting to play against a lot of green where we had to be more of a tempo deck. So we sided 2 Doria, 2 Koitsukai, and 2 Son Goku Power of Legend. These cards serve similar purposes. They stop decks from using Topo or the Trunks counter attack that Blue has, and other similar cards. They're just really useful at preventing your opponent from stopping your turn. So as long as they're not like a deck with Dormant, these cards are really good. The other one is Son Goku Power of Legend. This was Haru Haru for a long time, but we realized that we make our opponent discard already, and then this card has the added utility of being a kill spell for anything 4 or less. So it was just a better card, and the most important part, a free attacker.
Yeah. Something else I just want to add is Koitsukai bottom decks cards that you don't want in your hand, but it also bottom decks the 3-drop Vegeta. So in rare cases, you can activate Koitsukai, bottom deck the 3-drop Vegeta, and then use your leader to play it.
That actually did come up for me during the tournament against a Red Broly opponent.
That's amazing utility with that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And one other reason that we chose Son Goku over Haru Haru is Haru Haru only works against green and yellow decks. If you're playing against red and blue, you can actually side that in.
And that's also playable from any turn as well.
Yeah, you don't need to spend 3 for it, and it's less susceptible to counterplays than Haru Haru is as well. The last couple cards are a little bit extraneous. We played 2 Dark Power Mass Saiyan. This was for Red Broly, but none of our Red Broly opponents had the 1-drop TP card, so it never came in for me. It was good in theory. And then our other card is also good in theory. It's Blue Impulse. We were pretty scared of the red Bulma deck because it puts out a lot of blockers, which this deck can't really address. Its best turn can kill 3 of your opponent's cards. Bulma can have 12 blockers. So we wanted to have an out, and this is what it was. For 1 mana, if they played a card during your turn, you can kill your opponent's entire board. I never played against anything where I wanted it, neither did he.
Yeah. If you ever want to take this deck to a competitive scene, Blue Impulse is probably the first card I would take out to side in something else.
For sure.
All right, guys. You both did fantastic at this event. Any shout-outs for either of you?
Yeah, so before we end, I need to give a really big shout out to Simon Boschert. I spoke to him on Thursday night for an event on Saturday morning where I wasn't sure what deck I wanted to play, and he wrote me essays on why I should take this deck and all of the strategies I need to employ, and helped us fix the list that the Duck had prior, and I really, really value his help. I don't think I could have topped without him.
Awesome. And for you, Doug?
I want to give a special shout out to Runic TCG. When I put the deck together, they were the ones that helped me confirm that it was a real deck that I could take to an event. And after all that playtesting, and it was playtesting was fun, but without all that practice, I don't think I would have been able to do as well as I did during this event.
Yeah, it wouldn't have materialized as you saw, right?
Oh, definitely not.
All right, well, thank you both. Congratulations on your 4th and 8th place at the New Jersey Computer and Gaming Universe 1K. Congratulations, guys.